So how does the Nikon Z5 do in real world shooting? You know, I got the camera a few weeks ago and I was taking some shots around my house, but last night Eric and I went into Brooklyn, and we live on Long Island, so it's about, I don't know, 20 miles away. But you have to deal with New York traffic. But we started here out in the front of my house. All right, Eric's here and we're on our way. Want to say hi?
We're all bundled up. It's wintertime.
Yeah, it's gonna be cold tonight.
Oh, I can see myself.
That's right. See that little attachment?
That's actually very cool.
Now you're gonna have to take a picture of that to show what it looks like, because I had trouble describing it. Imagine a small mirror in the hot shoe, right?
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's pretty much what it is. It costs less than 20 bucks, and it makes the camera so I can vlog with it. So it's pretty cool. And the autofocus is, well, what do you think about that? The box there follows your face?
Yeah. You can see what's going on. That's all you need. With the flip screen, that's basically what it does for you, is you can see basically your framing and what's in focus, what's not. So yeah, it does it.
And we'll see how the stabilization does today too. So the first thing I want to talk about with this camera is what Eric was just talking about there, how he could see himself. Some of you may be buying the Nikon Z5 as a video camera or something to vlog with, and last night was the first time I used it that way. I have this flip pod, switch pod, I think it's called. That's what it is. It's a switch pod. And I put the Nikon right on top of it. And this is how I walked around last night. And it actually worked well. It's a little bit heavy. But then you say, how do you see yourself? So the Nikon has a little flip out screen. Flips out like this. Okay? And then I bought this little attachment. So what this is, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a mirror in there. And whatever's underneath it, you see my finger wiggling underneath it. And it reflects onto the mirror, and I can see the screen in the mirror. It's an ingenious design, super simple, less than 20 bucks. And it actually has two cold shoe mounts on it. So you can put a light, if you wanted to use an LED light on top, and I have my microphone mounted to it. So I'll show you how it looks. I don't know if you could see that, but you can see inside there, it actually is showing you the camera in the back there. And this is the setup. It's a little big, it's a little cumbersome. It's certainly a little bit bigger than the Canon M50 that I'm shooting on right here. But it was nice to have one camera with me and not have to have two bags full of stuff, and it made it very easy. I did take some video with it, and you're gonna see little clips of it. Everything I shot, the little video clips, were with the Z5. Now, one of the reasons I bought this is because it has face tracking autofocus. And we're going to talk today about the photography end of things and just a little bit about the video, but there were a few things with the video. We were freezing cold last night. It was unbelievably cold down by the water there. It was windy, and we really had a hard time. My hands were frozen where I couldn't feel the controls on the camera. So I ran into some issues trying to use all this stuff, and eventually I just took pictures. So the video, I didn't get as much as I wanted, but here's a little clip of us in the car. So it's only going to take us an hour and a half to go like 30 miles, which is par for the course here in New York, right?
It's totally crazy. I mean, there was a time, you know, when things were kind of shut down over the summer where you can drive in and out of the city in like a half an hour.
Right, we could move freely, but not anymore.
School's back in, you know, the stores are open for Christmas and things, so the roads are just packed. Now that is the focus is right on my face, and you can see Eric is just a little bit out of focus off to the side there. I had the camera set at f4, so I'm really liking this 24-70 lens because it does give a little bit of depth of field. I would prefer a 2.8 lens, but this one's nice and small and compact, and so far, as you'll see, the images have been super, super sharp, so I have no issues with this lens. I was afraid I wasn't gonna like it, but so far I do like it. Here's another little clip where we talk about the traffic. Okay, we're checking in again, and we're here in Queens now and heading towards Brooklyn. Believe it or not, where we're going is only 7 miles away, and yet it's going to take 45 minutes to get there. New York. Okay, and here's one last clip where we actually were in Brooklyn and kind of setting up the night what we were planning on doing. And the video looks pretty good. Now this is in a really low light situation. The ISO was at, I want to say, 16,000 in this shot. So we are in Brooklyn. Took us about an hour and 45 minutes to get here. Crazy traffic. But right above us, I don't know if you can see it, hang on, let me show you.
That's the Brooklyn Bridge right there. You see it? Yep, that's the Brooklyn Bridge. Now, when it's really dark out, we were walking along the waterside here, and you can see that the focus kind of, you lose it and it picks it up and it's not perfect. And then when I was talking to Eric in this section here, watch, Eric's going to talk about what he's doing here in this scene, the images he's trying to capture, but look at the focus. It has him and then it loses him. Now, if you look, he's got this mask on and his head is in like a cowl. So I'm wondering if the camera just had trouble picking up his face because of the way he was dressed, because it was so cold. But he comes in and out of focus. But when I'm using this in good lighting, the face tracking finds me pretty easily, and I'm able to use it. So check out this clip.
Wow, you look cold. So
It's really cold out.
yeah.
Trying some things out.
Yes.
Okay. I've got my 50mm 1.2 Canon RF, and I have on here now 50mm 1.8. Basically the classic nifty 50 for the Canon. This is the new RF version of the 50mm 1.8. I want to compare. I'm going to take the same shots with both of these lenses and compare and see, is it worth it? You can get 10 of these little lenses for one of these, which is to say you can get one of these plus a really nice camera body for the price of this one lens.
Well, I'm hoping that there's a difference.
I'm hoping that there's a pretty big difference
Yeah.
between the two.
Because if there's not, and just so you, right now I'm shooting at ISO 25,600.
Wow.
Yeah. So this video might look absolutely horrible, but
Yeah.
it's pretty dark over here.
I feel a little grainy.
Yeah. So here we are.
So as you can see, it was having a little trouble. And now I was on the other side of the camera and I could see that the focus box was on Eric's face and it was still not focusing. So I'm not really sure why that is. It could be that I was at ISO 25,600. So maybe that has something to do with it, because normally I would never shoot like that. But, this is the situation we were in, so we tested the camera out. So now let's talk photography. I started the night shooting with the Z5 with this Sigma 70-200 on it. We walked up to the edge of the water there, and it was already cold. We had walked about 4 or 5 city blocks, and we were already pretty cold, and we were nervous about the weather. And as soon as we got to the waterfront, the wind was just hitting us. So I put the camera on my tripod because the Statue of Liberty was off in the distance and the sun was setting behind it, and it would have been a great shot. What happened was I could not get a sharp shot. I had, now this lens comes with a tripod mount right here. You can mount your own tripod clip, but it actually, I don't know if you could see that, it's got the grooves in it, so it mounts right onto my tripod. So I mounted this on the tripod, and my fingers were so numb, I was having a hard time getting focus. I couldn't get focus across the river at the Statue of Liberty. And I thought I had focus, and the wind was blowing the camera that I just couldn't get a clean shot. I couldn't do it. So I started to get nervous. I'm like, this new lens that I just bought, is it working right? Was the stabilization in the camera giving me a problem? So I made sure the stabilization was off here, it was off in the camera, and I still wasn't able to get a long distance, long shot. I just think it has something to do with the fact that I had to touch the camera because my hands were so cold that I physically could not get the remote shutter plug into the side of the camera. I couldn't get it in there. My fingers were too cold, so I had to keep putting my gloves on and off. So these are all user errors, and these are things that you're going to come up against when you're out shooting, wherever you may be. So the cold weather really played a factor in last night, where we had some trouble. I had some trouble. Eric seemed to be fine, but I was having trouble. And I'm not 100% comfortable with the camera yet, so I didn't really know where all the buttons were and everything yet. So it was an interesting night. After a little while, I settled down and I was able to get my act together. And I started to get some images with this lens. So here's one of the Brooklyn Bridge that I got with this lens. I was able to lock focus on it. Again, this lens had a little bit of trouble finding focus on the bridge, and now I don't know if it was something I was doing or if it was the lens. So I want to test this. I was just outside shooting in my yard, and the focus is dead on. So I have a feeling it was something I was doing last night. Just, it was cold out, and I just was having trouble. shooting off the tripod with this. But I did get a couple of good shots. So here's one here, and then I took one of the Freedom Tower with this lens on it. Afterwards, I took this lens off and we went down to one of our favorite spots that I've shot many times over the years. And this is where the pylons are coming out of the water. They're like wooden, I have no idea why they're there. I'm guessing at some point there was a pier that was out over this and then something happened to the pier, but the poles that used to support it are still there. And it gives you a nice view when you're shooting this area. So we took a bunch of shots in this area. And, you know, this was with the 24-70 on it, and the resolution on the camera, the sharpness, the autofocus with this camera, it was spot on. I had no issues. The Z5 worked exactly the way I hoped it would. It was as good or better than my D750. So I had no issues with any of it, and I really actually like the compactness of this setup here. This is the 24-70 lens, and it does extend when you zoom it, okay? But for walking around, it's a nice small lens. So I had no issues with that. I liked using the viewfinder. I liked using the touch screen in the back. All your controls are there. I'm still getting used to the layout. But when you look at the images, the resolution was really great and not any different than what I used to get with my D750. I was able to edit the images fairly easily. The dynamic range was good. So all in all, very happy with this. Then we walked over, we were frozen, and we walked back over towards where we had the car parked. I took this picture of the Brooklyn Bridge with a little creamery, like ice cream store in front of it. I took two images here. The ice cream store was super bright and the bridge was dark. So I took an underexposed image and an overexposed image, and I blended them in Lightroom. I made an HDR, and it balances it out. So that's what that image was, nice and clear, no issues. Then we went over, and I wanted to try this 70-200 again. So I took a picture of this neon sign that says theater on it. And the first couple of times that I took a couple of shots here. The first one, I was having trouble getting focus on it. I was focusing directly on the neon lights there. Now, I don't know if the neon lights were flickering and the camera picked that up, but the focus, it was moving a little bit. So I put it in manual focus and used the focus peaking, which is fantastic, by the way. And this is a feature that I didn't even know I was going to want or use. But if you have manual focus lenses, this is a perfect camera for that, because you can quickly grab focus on anything. Now, I wouldn't shoot moving subjects with this, but you can shoot people. Any kind of landscape photography. You might even be better off using the focus peaking, because you can dial in exactly where you want, and you can see the focus plane moving as you adjust the focus. Really fantastic feature that mirrorless cameras have that I didn't know I would love, but I do. So I got a nice sharp shot, and then I actually took another one with the autofocus, and I was able to get this shot that was nice and clean. Then we went over to this other area where I always take a picture when I'm down in Brooklyn, and this is where the Empire State Building is through one of the supports of the Manhattan Bridge, and then you have these buildings on either side of it. And these I used on a tripod with the 70-200, and I had no issues getting focus at all. Shot through the bridge, picked up focus on the Statue of Liberty, shot the bridge, shot this image of the bridge up tight. Now, I was probably, oh my God, 2 or 3 football fields away with this shot here, and it is tack sharp with the Sigma lens. So everything kind of worked itself together. I think the wind really played an issue when we were on the waterfront there, and the fact that my hands were frozen and I couldn't manipulate the camera in any way. So over here we had warmed up a little bit in Eric's truck, and I was able to come out and quickly set myself up and take these shots where my hands were working and I had no problems. All in all, a good night with this camera. I like it. I want to continue learning it and getting better with it and starting to understand the controls a little bit more. I'm hoping to get out some more. The weather's starting to turn here. We're supposed to have a snowstorm tomorrow. We'll see what happens, but so far I like it. I actually took some pictures of my my nephew's daughter. I'm not going to show them here because it's their kid. I don't want to put the pictures online, but what I did was I took some pictures of her for Christmas, and I had her sitting on the floor. She's only a few months old, and the eye tracking autofocus was really great. I was able to get quite a few images of her, and she's at that age where she can't really hold herself up, and the eye tracking really was locking in on her eyes, and I was able to get some great images of her with the 70-200 and the Z5. So I really like that feature. The eye autofocus makes composing your images so much easier because you don't have to worry about getting the focus point on someone's eye. All you have to do is frame your image and the camera will follow the eye. And that's a game changer if you shoot portraits or you're shooting weddings or anywhere where there's people moving, sports even, if someone's face is visible. It really is great. Okay, so there's my 2 cents on my first time out with this camera. Real world review. I ran into some hiccups. All my fault, not the cameras. It was me not understanding the camera yet, not being comfortable with it. My D750, I could shoot that in the dark because I just knew where all the buttons are. This, everything's a little bit different from where it used to be, so I was having some trouble with it. But I'll get it. I'll get the hang of it, and you know, so will you if you move to a different camera. It's just the way it is. It's a learning curve. I'm going to leave a couple of videos here for you. This one is my first impressions of the Z5 from a couple of weeks back, and then this one is going to be our video where we tested out the image stabilization. And if you watch this one, you'll see that we were only getting about 3 stops of stabilization with the lenses that we tried. But with the Sigma 70-200, I actually tested it again, and I'm getting 5 stops with it. So just a little something to know. Okay, thanks for watching.